Where's your brake located?
This is your train brake here. This brake here puts the brakes on not only on the engine, but also on all the cars back there. This brake here is the engine brake.
Do you have any emergency brakes?
Yes, there's an emergency brake over there. You see that red lever there right in front of the other engineer? That's an emergency brake. And this lever here, if pulled right over to this position, furthest to your right, that's emergency there.
And what's the highest speed you're allowed to go on this unit?
On this unit?
Yeah.
Well, this unit is 89 miles per hour, but on this track right now, our highest speed is 40 miles an hour on this portion we're on right now. We're 50 miles an hour from Ottawa up to mileage 55. We're 40 miles an hour from here on in. Now, if we're out on the main line, between Montreal and Toronto, we could go 89 on this unit.
What's the horsepower of this unit, or do you know?
The horsepower of this unit? Ed, I forget. What's the horsepower of this unit, Ed? I forget. Do you know?
1,600.
1,600, I think, eh? I was going to say 1,550, and it's 1,600.
We were run past at mileage 73 this time.
Yeah.
Do you have any equipment in here for
I have to blow the whistle here. What was that you said?
do you have any equipment here for you adapting master-slave units?
Master-slave units.
Such as the
Oh, you mean the units that go back in the train?
Yeah.
Oh, no, we don't have that around here. That's only, you're talking about these very heavy trains like the Labrador, and is that what you're talking about? Where they have engines at the front and then engines in the middle? Is that what you're talking about?
I don't quite know.
Well, you're talking about slave units, yes. Well, in the Labrador, on the Labrador Railroad, where they're hauling that iron ore, they have slave units. I think it's about 2/3 back the train or something like that.
Halfway back.
Halfway back or 2/3. But we don't need that around here, eh? And we're not equipped for that, no. They're all radio controlled there.
What's the maximum number of passenger cars you can put in one train?
On one train? Well, it depends on how many units you have, eh? But about the biggest I've ever seen is about 23.
Legends are spun by dreamers. In reality, infatuation often leads to disillusionment. Old railway engineers never lose their infatuation, but they do become disillusioned. From cab to coach again and homeward bound, an old railway buff gave Blake some food for thought.
What railways have you worked on?
Well, Canadian Pacific, just the one.
You operated steam and diesel?
Oh yes, I was on them both. Started with steam and got into diesels and then left the railway.
Which do you prefer most?
Well, the diesel engines are a lot nicer to work on from the point of view of just being on them. They're much cleaner and they're more comfortable. But I have a nostalgic streak in me, and because of that, I guess I have a bit of a love affair going with the steam locomotive.
Did you run passenger engines?
I was on passenger locomotives as a fireman, and I was qualified to run them. And I worked essentially out of Montreal and Ottawa, and I was on the trains that ran between Montreal and Vancouver on my division, which was either Montreal to Ottawa or Ottawa to Chalk River on the west end, and that's as far as I went. The railway is divided up into subdivisions, and engine crews especially, normally operate one subdivision.
Did you ever operate freight?
Oh yes, I was on freight service and yard service and way freights and work trains and anything that ran. Most of the time that I was on the railway, I stayed on the spare list, which meant that I was on call 24 hours a day, and I took my call, and whatever it happened to be that day, whether it be a yard engine or a passenger train, I went out on whatever it was. Some days it was steam, and some days it was diesel.
Which do you think was easier to operate, the steam or the diesel engine?
Oh, the diesel locomotive by far. It's a lot of the skilled functions that you had to perform on a steam locomotive were automated out of the diesel, and it's designed in such a way that regardless of who is operating it, the end result is much the same, whereas with steam power, the end result was pretty, well, it showed the skill of the engineer and the fireman. This just doesn't happen with diesels. They're pretty much automated machine. Certainly a lot easier to run.
So when you were operating, did you spend more time in steam or diesel?
No, I think I was more on steam power until the time that I left them. But I had my share of new diesels. My days on the railway were during a time when the steam engine had reached its peak and the diesel was starting to come in a big way. And for example, such trains as the Canadian on CP came along while I was there, and I would see both sides of the coin, as it were. One day I'd be on a yard engine, which could be steam powered, and the next day out on something like the Canadian. It was two very drastic extremes. It was kind of interesting. It was an interesting period of time. The steam engine that was going out, and the diesel was starting to make a lot of headway.
So you spent more time in steam. Were you a fireman or an engineer?
No, I was a fireman, but I was what they called a passed man. That is, I had written the necessary examinations to be an engineer, but due to the seniority system on the railway, I was going to have to spend many more years as a fireman before I would be promoted to engineer, which is not in the least one of the reasons why I left. And I'm not there anymore. Now I just enjoy it as a hobby.
serious reflection, and then journey's end. Blake's final comment?
Oh, I'd like to work in a railway somewhere. Probably be an engineer.
Or about the Maury agate. It's starting to appear in catalogs now as such, but there isn't that much information.
Well, perhaps we can find some more information, and if any of you know about Maury agate, if you would
Pre-Nippon.
let us know, pre-Nippon, and we would certainly pass on any information we might get from our viewers, and we'd be happy to let you know about it. But there's no mark on this piece,
No mark,
per se.
no mark whatsoever.
Well, I'm sure there are collectors who have been as thrilled as I, having seen this wonderful collection, and perhaps we can find out more information.
Excellent, if you would.
Cliff, I would like so much to thank you and your wife Beverly for all the trouble you've gone to bring this wonderful collection to us. We're very grateful and we've enjoyed it.
Helen, it's been our pleasure.
Thank you so much, and thank you for watching. We hope to see you again.